Hey guys, Mr. F here. It's Thursday, I believe. Yeah, we'll go Thursday. And I just got back from Costco. And if you guys are out there shopping and getting your essentials, you know it's pretty crazy out there. So I hope everyone is continuing to stay safe and continuing to wash their hands. Today I'm going to read from Holes, continue our story. We last left off at chapter 10. And when we left off, Stanley was a little bit upset. He had found something he thought was pretty cool in the dirt. It was a fossil of a fish. He was hoping that Mr. Pendansky would think that was worthy to go to the warden to see if maybe he could get the day off. But they kind of just laughed at him and said, no, that's not what they're looking for. But Stanley is not really sure what they're looking for, and nobody is at this time. So we'll continue reading. Chapter 11. Stanley returned to his hole. It wasn't fair. Mr. Pendansky had even said his fossil was interesting. He slammed his shovel into the ground and pried up another piece of earth. After a while, he noticed X-Ray had come by and was watching him dig. "Hey, caveman, let me talk to you for a second. Come here," X-Ray said. Stanley put down his shovel and stepped out of his hole. "Say, listen, if you find something else, give it to me, okay?" Stanley wasn't sure what to say. X-Ray was clearly the leader of the group, and Stanley didn't want to get on his bad side. "You're new here, right?" said X-Ray. "Well, guess what? I've been here for almost a year now. I've never found nothing. You know, my eyesight's not so good. No one knows this, but you know why my name's X-Ray?" Stanley just shrugged his shoulder. "It's Pig Latin, for Rex, that's all. I'm too blind to find anything." Stanley tried to remember how Pig Latin worked. "I mean," X-Ray went on, "why should you get a day off when you've only been here a couple of days? If anybody gets a day off, it should be me. That's only fair, right?" I guess," Stanley agreed. X-Ray just smiled. "You're a good guy, caveman. I always knew it." Stanley picked up his shovel. The more he thought about it, the more he was glad that he agreed to let X-Ray have anything he might find. If he was going to survive at Camp Green Lake, it was far more important that X-Ray think he was a good guy than it was for him to get one measly day off. Besides, he didn't expect to find anything else anyways. There probably wasn't anything out there of interest out there. And even if there was, he'd never been what you would call lucky. He slammed his blade into the ground, then dumped out another shovelful of dirt. It was a little surprising, he thought, that X-Ray was the leader of the group, since he obviously wasn't the biggest or the toughest. In fact, except for Zero, X-Ray was the smallest. Armpit was the biggest. Zigzag may have been taller than Armpit, but that was only because of his long neck. Yet Armpit and all the others seemed to be willing to do whatever X-Ray asked of them. And as Stanley dug up another shovelful of dirt, it occurred to him that Armpit really wasn't the biggest. He, the caveman, was bigger. He was glad that they called him Caveman. It meant they accepted him into their group. He would have been glad even if they called him Barf Bag. It was really quite remarkable to him. At school, bullies like Derek Doone used to pick on him. Yet, Derek Doone would be scared senseless by any of the boys here at Camp Green Lake. And as he dug his hole, Stanley thought about what it would be like if Derek Doone had to fight Armpit or Squid. Derek, he wouldn't stand a chance. He imagined what it would be like if he became good friends with all of them, and then, for some strange reason, they all returned with him back home and went to his school. And then Derek Doone tried and stealing his notebook then? I don't think it'd fly. "Hey, just what do you think you're doing?" asked Squid, as he slams his hand into Derek Doone's smug face. "Caveman's our friend," says Armpit, grabbing him by the shirt collar. Stanley played the scene over and over and over in his mind, each time watching another boy from Group D beat Derek Doone senseless. It helped him dig his hole and ease his own suffering. Whatever pain he felt was being felt 10 times worse by Derek. Again, Stanley was the last one to finish digging. It was late afternoon when he dragged himself back to the compound. This time, he would have accepted a ride on a truck if it was offered. But when he got to the tent, he found that Mr. Badansky and the other boys sitting in a circle on the ground. "Welcome, Stanley," said Mr. Badansky. "Hey, caveman, you got your hole dug?" asked Magnet. He managed a nod. "You spitting it?" asked Squid. He nodded again. "You're right," he said, X-Ray. "The second hole's. That's the hardest." X-Ray just shook his head. "Man, the third hole's the hardest." "Come, join our circle," said Mr. Badansky, and Stanley plopped down between Squid and Magnet. He needed to rest up before taking a shower. "We've been discussing what we want to do with our lives," said Mr. Badansky. "We're not going to be at Camp Green Lake forever. We need to prepare for the day we leave here and join the rest of society." "Hey, that's great, Mom," said Magnet. "They're going to finally let you out of here." And the other boys laughed. "Okay, Jose," said Mr. Badansky. "What do you want to do with your life?" "I don't know," said Magnet. "Well, you need to think about that," said Mr. Badansky. "It's important to have goals. Otherwise, you're going to end up right back in jail." "What do you like to do?" "I don't know," said Magnet. "Well, you must like something," said Mr. Badansky. "Well, I do like animals." "Oh, good," said Mr. Badansky. "Does anyone know of any jobs that might involve animals?" "Veterinarian," said Armpit. "That's right," said Mr. Badansky. He could work in a zoo," said Zigzag. "Ha! He belongs in a zoo," said Squid, and then he and the X-Ray laughed. "Well, how about you, Stanley? Do you have any ideas for Jose?" Stanley sighed. Animal trainer. An animal trainer, yeah. Like, for the circus or for movies or something along those lines." "Yeah, well, any of those jobs. Yeah, they sound good. How about you, Jose? Do you think they sound good?" "Yeah, I like what Caveman said, about training animals for movies. I think it'd be fun to train, monkeys or something for a movie." X-Ray just laughed. "Don't laugh, Rex," said Mr. Badansky. "We don't laugh at other people's dreams. Someone is going to have to train monkeys for the movies. Why can't it be Jose?" "Who are you kidding, Mom?" asked X-Ray. "Magnet's never going to be a monkey trainer." "Well, you don't know that," said Mr. Badansky. "I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Nothing in life is easy. But that's no reason to give up. You'll be surprised what you can accomplish if you set your mind to it. After all, you only have one life, so you should try to make the most of it." Stanley tried to figure out what he'd say if Mr. Badansky asked him what he wanted to do with his life. He used to think he wanted to work for the FBI, but this didn't seem like the appropriate place to mention that. "So far, you've all done a pretty good job at messing up your own lives," said Mr. Badansky. "I know you think you're cool and all," and he looked at Stanley. "So, I guess you're caveman now." "You like digging holes, caveman?" Stanley didn't know what to say. "Well, let me tell you something, caveman. You are here on account of one person. That's right, just one. And if it wasn't for that one person, you wouldn't be here digging holes here at Camp Green Lake in the hot sun. You know who that person is?" "Yeah. My no-good, dirty, rotten, pig-stealing great-great-grandfather." The other boys howled with laughter. Even Zero smiled. It was the first time Stanley had even seen Zero smile. He usually had such an angry expression on his face. Now, he had such a huge smile, it almost looked like it was too big for his face, kind of like a jack-o'-lantern. "No," said Mr. Badansky, "that person is you, Stanley. You're the reason you're here. You're responsible for yourself. You messed up your own life, and it's up to you to fix it. No one else is going to do it for you. For any of you." Mr. Badansky looked from one boy to another. "You're all special in your own way," he said. "You've all got something to offer. You have to think about what you want to do, and then do it. Even you, Zero. You're not completely worthless." The smile was now gone from Zero's face. "What do you want to do with your life?" said Mr. Pedanski. Zero's mouth was shut tight right now, and as he glared at Mr. Pedanski, his eyes seemed to expand. "So what about it, Zero?" asked Mr. Pedanski. "What do you like to do?" "Me? I like to dig holes." Chapter 13. All too soon, Stanley was back out in the lake, sticking his shovel into the dirt. X-Ray was right. The third hole was the hardest. Wait, so was the fourth, and the fifth, and the sixth. Well, you see where I'm going with this. He dug his shovel into the dirt, and after a while he lost track of the day, of the week, and how many holes he dug. It seemed like he'd done dig one big hole, and it would take 1.5 years to dig it. He guessed he'd lost at least 5 pounds. He figured that in 1.5 years, he'd either be in great physical shape or dead. He dug his shovel into the dirt again. It couldn't always be this hot, he thought to himself. Surely it got cooler in December. Maybe then they froze. He dug his shovel into the dirt. His skin had gotten tougher. It didn't hurt so much to hold that shovel. As he drank from his canteen, he looked up at the sky. A cloud had appeared earlier in the day, and it was the first cloud he could remember seeing since coming to Camp Green Lake. He and the other boys had been watching it all day, hoping it would move in front of the sun. Occasionally it got close, but that cloud, it was just teasing them. His hole was waist deep now. He dug his shovel into the dirt, and as he dumped it out, he thought he saw something glisten as it fell out into the dirt pile. Whatever it was quickly buried. Stanley stared at the pile for a moment, unsure if he'd ever seen it, really. Even if it was something, what good would it do him? He'd promised to give anything he found to X-Ray. It didn't seem worth the effort to climb out of his hole to check it out. He glanced up at the cloud, which was close enough to the sun that he had to squint to look at it. He dug his shovel back into the earth, scooped out some more dirt, and lifted it out of his dirt pile. But instead of dumping it there, he tossed it off to the other side. His curiosity had gotten the better of him. He climbed out of the hole and sifted his fingers through the pile. He felt something hard and metallic. He pulled it out. It was a gold tube about as long and wide as his second finger on his right hand. The tube was open at one end and closed at the other. He used a few drops of his precious water to clean it off. There seemed to be some kind of design on the flat, closed end of it. He poured a few more drops of water on it and rubbed it on the inside of his pants. He looked again at the design engraved on the flat bottom. He could see an outline of a heart with the letters KB etched inside of it. Kind of looking like that. He tried to figure out some way that he wouldn't have to give it to X-Ray. He could just keep it, but that wouldn't do him any good. He wanted to trade that for a day off. He looked at the large pile of dirt near where X-Ray was digging. X-Ray was probably almost finished for the day. Getting the rest of the day off would hardly do him any good. X-Ray would first have to show him the tube to Mr. Sir or Mr. Pedanski, who would then have to show it to the warden, and by then, X-Ray would probably be done his hole anyways. Stanley wondered about trying to secretly take the tube directly to the warden. He could explain the situation to the warden, and the warden might make up an excuse for giving him a day off, so X-Ray wouldn't be suspicious. He looked across the lake toward the cabin under the 2 oak trees. That place scared him. He'd been at Camp Green Lake for almost 2 weeks now, and he still hadn't seen the warden. That was just as well. If he can go his entire 1.5 years without seeing the warden, that'd be fine with him. Besides, he didn't know if the warden would find the tube interesting or not. He looked at it again. It looked familiar in some way. He thought he'd seen something like it before, but he really couldn't place it. "Hey, what you got there, caveman?" asked Zigzag. Stanley's large hand closed around the tube. "Nothing, just, It was useless. "I think I might have found something, guys." "Another fossil?" "No, I'm not sure what it is." "Let me see," said Zigzag. But instead of showing it to Zigzag, Stanley brought it to X-Ray, and Zigzag followed along. X-Ray looked at the tube, then rubbed his dirty glasses on his dirty shirt, and then looked at the tube again, and one by one the other boys dropped their shovels and came over to look. Man, that looks like an old shotgun shell, said Squid. Yeah, that's probably what it is, said Stanley, and he decided not to mention the engraved design on the bottom. Maybe nobody would notice it. And he kind of doubted X-Ray could see it. Nah, it's too long and thin to be a shotgun shell, said Magnet. It's probably just a piece of junk, said Stanley. Well, I'll show it to Mom, said X-Ray. See what he thinks. Who knows? Maybe I'll end up getting the day off. But your hole's almost finished, said Stanley. Yeah, so? Stanley raised and lowered one shoulder. So, this is what I'm thinking. Why don't you wait until tomorrow to show it to Mom, he suggested. You can pretend you found it first thing in the morning. Then you can get the whole day off instead of like an hour or so in the afternoon today. X-Ray smiled at him. Man, good thinking, caveman. Ooh. He dropped the tube into his large pocket on the right side of his leg in his dirty pants. Stanley returned to his hole. And when the water truck came by, Stanley started to take his place at the end of the line. But X-Ray told him to get behind Magnet and in front of Zero. Stanley moved up one place in line. All right, guys, that was a couple chapters there. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm hoping to read chapters 14 tomorrow. Again, hope everyone's safe. Hope everyone's social distancing and washing their hands. And more importantly, I hope you're with loved ones and hope you can communicate with your friends and family members somehow. I'm going to sign off for now. Hope you guys have a great Easter weekend right around the corner. And yeah, see you later.